Hello, welcome to the Mediocre Takes podcast, the podcast where we share our mediocre takes on the shows and movies we watch. I'm Marco and I'm here with my co-host Mel. How are you doing, Mel?
I have a list. It's cold and it's wet. Unacceptable. The sun is going down at 4 post meridium. Ridiculous. My job is so boring but also exhausting. Suspicious. There is someone plotting against me, Marco. They are setting down traps that will lead to my downfall, and everyone is a part of it. That is how I personally have been feeling lately.
Okay, good for you, I guess. Today we are talking about Shira Season 2. Very exciting, so let's just get into it.
Episode 1, The Frozen Forest. The rebellion comes up against advanced horde bots that are using First One's tech. After dealing with some team drama, they defeat them before the bots get a hold of more First One's tech.
I do not like Frosta's sudden character change in this episode. I liked her way more when she was actually taken as a serious character.
So you'd say she's annoying, but she's 11 and 3/4. So shut the fuck up. Sorry. But Marco, she's at this point, she's 11 or 12, right? And she's getting to hang out with someone who she admires, and we're later told that she hasn't really had a lot of interactions with people her age, let alone people who don't see her as the princess, because she literally became the princess when she was 6. So I think her aggressive annoyingness is completely valid.
Yeah, I guess so, but my complaint is that I think that she should have acted more like she originally acted in the first episode we saw her, and that's mostly because she wants to be taken seriously. And I get that she's acting more childish now because of Glimmer, but I still feel like we should have seen a bit of that serious side of her because it seemed like a really important, big character part of her, at least in the first episode we saw her.
I guess, yeah.
Okay, also, apparently Atrapta gets stuff from her castle in this episode, which means her people know that she survived, but they don't tell the others. I'm obviously not talking about Entrapta telling the others because she thinks the others abandoned her, but maybe the castle people could have said something. Anyways, it's not that big of a deal. Mermista and Perfuma, being secretly sassy to each other in this episode was great. I was a bit confused on what was going on at the beginning of the episode because we keep getting to the actual battle versus Adora's practice battle.
I personally love fighting sequences because there's so much information you can stuff in there. You can show the dynamics of a group based off how they fight and how they use each other's strengths and weaknesses to take down their enemies. I also really loved Adora's fighting simulation because it showed something that is so consistent with Adora, which is that she could never really physically hurt Katra in any meaningful way while she is in the right state of mind. And I say in the right state of mind because that'll come up in a later episode. But both of them know this. And Katra works off that fact often, which is so clever of her. She's so smart. I hate Lighthope because I know her secrets. But I absolutely love a character who is funny for all the wrong reasons. Because her reason being is she takes everything literally. Also, let's have a chat about Kyle. On a scale of 1 to 10, how pathetic is he and how pathetic is too pathetic? Where does the patheticness go from pitying them to becoming apathetic to their woes?
I feel like he's a 10 off patheticness, honestly.
Would you then say that it's so pathetic to a point where you don't feel pity for him at all?
I definitely feel pity for him. I guess that's mostly because of how the others treat him mostly. If he was pathetic on his own, then I wouldn't feel the same way.
Yeah, I don't. I'm so apathetic to him. Every time someone's shitting on Kyle, I'm like, yeah, what the fuck, Kyle? I'm so on board the Kyle hate train. Also, Adora stealing Katra's line when she killed that bot. It was slick, I had to admit. Another thing I love about Katra is the fact that she's doing her best to hide her emotions, and we verbally see her slip up sometimes, but we also get to see physical tellings like her ears and tail and how she scratches shit when she gets angry. And I love that they used her cat features to show her emotions. Episode 2, Ties That Bind. While Bo and Glimmer attempt to get Entrapta back, they end up capturing Catra, but release her. Adora and Swiftwind fix a First One's watchtower Mara, the previous She-Ra, broke. I wonder why she did that.
Okay, so I mentioned this in the last season review, but I was talking about how I was disappointed that we never got back to Drill, but I was apparently wrong because we do go back to Drill in this episode. I am still disappointed that we never saw the reactions of the people reacting to Entrapta's death, but it was still my mistake. I will say this episode underutilized the Drill part of the episode. Honestly, I hate it when people act better than others in the sense of not using violence. Glimmer should have killed that pussy. So, the She-Ra and Unicorn B plot was kind of terrible and I hated it. Swiftwind is such an annoying character and I hate him as well.
It's only after starting this review of this show that I realized how many kinds of annoying characters there are in this show, and some of them are valid, like I said about Frosta before, and I think that a lot of Glimmer's annoyingness is also valid in a way because she's just an inherently stubborn character. But Swiftwind, man, he has no reason. Like, I literally do not get it. And that's why I think the B plot in this episode was so hard to like watch and pay attention to because Swiftwind was just like he just needed to chill, man. And I understand that they used his upbeatness and whatever to like sort of steer Adora into the path of figuring out how to fix the watchtower, but like he was just like breaking out into tunes and shit. Like it was so annoying. Also, listen, Catra is so funny in this. This was one of the episodes that solidified her as my favorite. I also really liked any scene with Catra and Glimmer in it because their dynamic is so fun and interesting to watch. Also, Scorpia is so down bad for Catra. It's like that one meme where it's like, you want to kiss me so bad it makes you look stupid, which I think is like one of my favorite dynamics. What are your thoughts on the Scorpia Catra thing?
I like it, I'm just disappointed on where it ended.
Yeah. We can get into that later. I liked Scorpia since day one. Her relationship with Catra was interesting, but I didn't really give it any thought because I sort of knew that something was going to happen between Catra and Adora. So I sort of put Scorpio on the back burner, but after re-watching it, it's so much more sad, I guess, for Scorpio. Episode 3, Signals. Bo, Glimmer, Adora, and Swiftwind visit Alwyn after they stopped all contact with them. They figure out the quote-unquote ghosts plaguing the town were actually messages from the First Ones. They turn the antenna down, but something is still janking up the comms. Curious. After Entrapta sneaks into Lord Hordak's lair and fixes the power source for his portal, she becomes his lab partner. Gag.
I hate the Entrapta Hordak dynamic. It's terrible. And I hate the ending of them.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. I absolutely fucking despise it.
Yeah, I'm glad we agree. I feel like there was way too much padding in this episode. Like, we definitely needed less of Adora and friends and more of Atrata and Hordak in this episode. Not in their relationship sense, more like in the what they were doing sense, because I hate their relationship. Or at least they kind of shortened this episode a lot more. I really appreciate the world building and the hero side plot, though. I really like the reveal of there being more planets. I just kind of assumed everyone in the show already knew that. So when I learned they didn't, I actually ended up liking it.
Yeah, it kind of sucks that a lot of world building, I guess, for Adora specifically and her revelations about the First Ones and Mara are always, or for, like for the last 2 episodes, have been stuck in this horrible, like boring or annoying B plot. So sorry for you, girl. I don't like how the rebellion talks about Entrapta. Like, I understand they don't know her like I do, but it genuinely upsets me that they don't understand that she didn't join the Horde because she believes in their message and what they're trying to do. She's just a simple woman in STEM. And at this time, she also said that, like, she has friends who accept her. And for the most part, well, not for the most part, Scorpia and Emily really love and accept her. So I get nervous when there's a Catra and Shadow Weaver scene. My fight or flight response gets activated. The scenes between Shadow Weaver and Catra or Adora are important to show how exactly she's gotten under their skins, but I think that's the reason why it makes me uncomfortable, because, like, I'm not saying I know what they're going through, but I do feel like I'm having war flashbacks every time she talks. Episode 4. Roll with it. The rebellion argue over their plans on how to attack a horde tower before agreeing to just improvise. They take down the horde with friendship and magic and cosplay.
Okay, I do not like this episode. I really would have appreciated this episode if there was more plot. I really liked the change of art style in this episode, but it was also really boring at the same time.
I thought it was a really great break from the status quo. I especially love the different styles of Catra we saw. It was like a bit of a reflection on the characters' personalities. I especially loved Perfuma's Catra. I thought that was cute, like the way it was just sort of like a crude sketch. So Bo's battle plan was literally just a throwback to the original cartoon. The way that they were dressed during his, like, the way he was reciting the battle, that was how they all dressed in the original cartoon, all the way down to Catra turning into a cat. Like, the reason she has the headpiece, the original reason, was so she can, like, turn into a cat, which I thought was a cute little Easter egg.
I also enjoyed the other Catra designs as well. They were really great. I will say my favorite part of this episode was when Adora breaks down and her friends help her feel better.
I love how Catra lives in Adora's head rent-free. Like, this whole time she's telling them, you can't underestimate Catra. She's literally going to kill us all." And I love that. Lonnie's a lesbian confirmed. Also, it is so funny to me that literally no one likes Kyle. Like, even Scorpia hates him. And out of everyone, I feel like Scorpia would be at least one person who'd be like, "Oh, Kyle." Nope, she hates him too. And I love that for her. Episode 5. Whiteout. Bo, Glimmer, Adora, and Seahawk go to the Northern Reach, where they run into Catra, Scorpia, and Entrapta. After fighting with She-Ra, Catra infects her with the red disc from Season 1, Episode 6. Infected snow monsters attack them until the disc is finally broken.
I like the fight scenes in this episode. I also really appreciate that Scorpio says I'll never leave Catra behind, but in later seasons something different happens. I really enjoyed the designs of the monsters. I did not enjoy Seahawk in this episode again, and I'm glad we don't see him much in this season.
I also love how no one really likes Seahawk that much, except for Bo, and that's because he sort of has an obsession with pirates, and Mermista, who I guess she sees something in him. I don't know. Okay, there's actually something so endearing about someone with no riz. Like, Scorpia bumbling around while trying to ask Catra out was actually really so cute. Okay, so She-Ra getting infected again. This scene was so interesting because it is literally the fighting simulation we saw in the first episode, all the way down to Catra saying she knows Adora won't hurt her. And remember, I also said Adora could never physically hurt Catra in any meaningful way when she's in the right state of mind. So what happens when she isn't? We get to see Catra actually terrified of She-Ra for the first time, which is great. Also, have you noticed that whenever someone is asked to watch over someone, they always immediately go missing? Like, it happens so many times in this show, and I don't really know why. Like, I get it, it's a haha laugh funny joke, but they do it so many times to the point where it's not really funny anymore.
I feel like it's just a trope in media, like in general.
Yeah, but it's used so often in this.
Yeah, that's true.
Scorpia and Adora stuck in the closet. Interesting. Also, it feels like there's a lot of duplicate characters in this show, and it seems like it's often used to teach one or both of the characters a lesson. For example, in this episode between Scorpia and Seahawk, in another episode that I can just think off the top of my head, we get a heart-to-heart between Catra and Glimmer in season 5, episode 3. But it seems like there's a lot of, and you know, you can even say Perfuma and Bo, where they sort of like try to take like the peacekeeper route, and they sort of get, you know, like talked over and stuff often. So interesting thoughts. Episode 6, Light Spinner. Did somebody say flashback episode? We get to see the story of how Light Spinner became Shadow Weaver. Prison Break. Shadow Weaver manipulates Catra into giving her an item she needed to escape. Catra is dot 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 sad.
I really love this episode a lot. Like, I like it a lot. But really feel like we should have gotten Shadow Weaver's backstory a lot earlier because it would have like set so much more like plot into this show. I feel bad that Catra had been betrayed by Shadow Weaver, but at the same time, she should have seen it coming.
Marco, you can't keep saying that. You can't keep saying
No,
that. No, no,
no,
no,
okay,
Marco.
okay. What I'm saying is that Catra learned how to manipulate people from Shadow Weaver, basically. And basically, I'm saying, like, she should have learned from her manipulator that she was about to be manipulated. Like, in my mind, it doesn't make sense.
Sure, if you've never been in a relationship like that, but okay, listen. Shadow Weaver is Catra's only mother figure. Like Shadow Weaver literally physically, mentally, and emotionally abused her for her whole life. But she still craved that physical attention and that admiration that like every kid wants from their parental figure. Especially in that scene right before Shadow Weaver leaves, she like caresses Catra's face. Like she gives her that non-abusive physical touch she's like always wanted. So like, no. She shouldn't have known.
I wish we got more reasons to why Shadow Weaver joined the Horde instead of just getting her revenge. When she was Light Spinner, she was talking about how she wanted to protect the world from the Horde. But then suddenly she just joins the Horde.
Easy response. All she ever wanted was to win, and all she ever wanted was power.
Micah being a student of Shadow Weaver was kind of missed potential. Like when the gang went to Mysticore, we could have gotten way more built up to the reveal that Glimmer is Micah's daughter and the drama that would incur when Shadow Weaver found out and when she kidnapped. Or was that before? She kidnapped Glimmer before.
Kidnapped? Wait, she
Before.
never kidnapped Glimmer.
Oh wait, no, Catcher kidnapped Glimmer and then took her to Shadow Weaver, didn't she?
Yeah, but I think Shadow Weaver knew.
Oh well, I feel like if we got it before that, there could have been so much more drama between them, and that would have been like a really good scene.
Yeah, the compliance of the sorcerers with letting the princesses deal with the horde is honestly annoying. Like, I understand them not wanting to use this parasitic spell that Light Spinner thought of, but dude, like, dude, dude, be serious. Like, you literally just got shown images of the horde being like terrorists or whatever, and your response is like, no, the princesses will figure it out. What are you on? Giving very much Switzerland during World War II. When Shadow Weaver said, quote, I've given everything to the Horde, the first time I heard that, chills. Because we've already heard Catra talk about how she has given so much to the Horde. And it's just like another instance of seeing how Catra is going down the same road that Shadow Weaver has. Also, everything Shadow Weaver says to Catra in that jail cell was so infuriating. She basically went, I abused you for years because I had a tough life, but also I want you to be better than me. Oh, now let me give you this physical affection you've craved from me, the only mother figure you've ever had. And then she left her. Excuse me? Oh my god. Also, notice where Shadow Weaver caresses Catra. Like, it's the little, the lighter shade of hair that she has. Keep that in mind. It's very interesting. Catra lost Adora. Catra lost Shadow Weaver. Catra is losing her mind. And she will make it everyone's problem. And I love that for her. Episode 7 Reunion. Some people don't even have one dad. Bo has two, and Glimmer and Adora get to meet them, but have to pretend they're all going to a boarding school together. After accidentally activating a First One's elemental, Bo's parents find out the truth.
Okay, so I was kind of disappointed that this was the ending for the second season. Instead of a bunch for the next season, but it was underwhelming. I will say though, it makes sense that season 2 and season 3 were originally supposed to be one season and split into two, because this is a really underwhelming like second season finale. I'm not sure what the season 3 finale is, but I feel like it would have made more sense if they combined the two. And is it good or is it bad?
The season 3 finale?
Yeah.
It's a doozy. You don't like Catra now? Oh, just wait.
Okay. I guess I'm excited for that then. But back to what I was saying. I just feel like this was a really underwhelming finale. I find it hilarious that Bo rips off his shirt in this episode, but literally makes no sense. Like he was just trying to reach for his bows, and then instead of like moving around and going around the other side and reaching under, he just rips off his shirt as if that's gonna like make him get more room under there, when it really doesn't. But I really love it at the same time. I really like the ending of this episode where Katra is seen suffocated, not because I want her to suffocate, but I just think it's like a really cool scene. And I also really like that Shadow Weaver is seen at the end of the episode because it sets up a lot more for the third season.
So I know this is a cartoon or whatever, but I can't get over the plot hole that is two loving parents somehow not thoroughly vetting the boarding school their kid goes to for prolonged periods of time. Also, by the way, George's outfit is inspired by the outfit of Bo from the original series. It's kind of gross to see loving and caring parents. It's just kind of weird because when loving parents are shown in cartoons, they're almost like caricatures of a loving couple instead of a normal one. Like, the fact that they're so loving and, like, so supportive and, like, it's so strange to me. Also, Catcher fucking died, Marco.
No, she didn't.
Catcher
She's
fucking died.
alive.
The creator of She-Ra, Indy Stevenson, jokingly tweeted the times that Catra died. Jokingly. But I like to pretend it's canon because season 5, episode 5 is so much more beautiful if Catra actually does have 9 lives and she loses them throughout the show. So let's go down the times that it has happened to her already, and I'll start updating it every time according to this tweet, which is not canon. She allegedly dies. So the first one says that Catra burned alive for a maximum dramatic exit at Princess Prom when she fell off the cliff, which would then imply that she literally like fell so hard onto the ship that caught her that she literally died and then came back to life, which I think is really interesting. The second time would be when Catra and Adora are in one of the first one's temples and the spider gets her and like drags her away. The third one would be what just happened now, where she is like suffocated to death. Like she dies. Like that bitch died. I will keep you all updated on the Catra death tally.
Overall, this was an okay season. It had its ups and downs. My favorite parts, let me think. Definitely where Bo like ripped off his shirt. That was great. I loved that. I really loved Shadow Weaver's backstory. The fights are pretty good. Overall, I think this is a okay season. I'm just don't think it was the best season out of all of the Shira seasons out there. So yeah, I'm hoping season 3 will be better.
Oh, it's better. When I first saw this, I didn't expect the show to get so serious so soon, but I think that has a lot to do with me thinking of older children's cartoons where it starts to get serious around like 50 episodes in. I'm still kind of getting used to the faster paced newer cartoons, but other than that, the season did a great job of fleshing out the characters and giving them more depth. We got a lot more history in general. This was also the season I became a true Catra fan, and I haven't looked back since. Good God. I don't know about you, but I need a break from these 2D homos, which is perfect because it is time for a little segment I like to call the Mediocre Minute. This is a tiny little micro moment where me and Marco recommend books, comics, music, games, and more for you all to sneak a little peek at until we post our next episode. My recommendation is a recommendation. It is a recommendation I'll be recommending every single time a new book comes out. It is, of course, She Loves to Cook and She Loves to Eat by Sakayomi Uzaki. The third book recently came out, and we're introduced to two new characters who contrast our main characters in a very interesting way. Marco, what is your recommendation?
My recommendation is a podcast called Within the Wires. Within the Wires is a story about this dystopian world where, like 9 years ago or something, the world fell into war and now a new society has come up and created a new society, I guess. But basically, it's about how people, when they give birth, their memories are wiped and their babies are taken away, and the babies are grown somewhere else. It's really interesting. I really love the first season. However, I feel like this next seasons go downhill of the podcast. I would recommend at least giving the first season a try. If you don't like it, you probably won't like the rest. But yeah. Anyways, you guys, that's our thoughts on Shira Season 2. If you want to send us a voice message on Spotify for podcasters, there'll be a link in the description to do so. We also have Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads, which are at MidTakesPod, and that's everything. So, goodbye.